At that time, I think it was just attraction to each other. I don't know. He was funny. I like funny. That's number one.
Do you think she's funny?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
How long you guys been together?
18 years total.
Yeah, since 2006.
Okay. Long time.
But married
Do you know the month?
December. Also December when we got married.
I forgot in the month.
10 years ago we got married.
Well, from your special, it tracks, right? She remembers the month.
Yes.
You don't know where you bank. It's the same as my relationship. Bert has no idea where we bank. I was watching your special, your latest special, and I was like, this is like listening to someone else describe my relationship with Bert. You guys are, I think from what I know about you, you're pretty similar.
Yeah.
So, did you meet in a comedy club?
Yes.
You did. And were you a waitress?
Yeah. I had just gotten divorced. Well, I had just gotten separated from my husband, who I met in college. And we had a son together. But I didn't want to put my son in daycare, so I went back to waiting tables so I could work at night. And then we just basically balanced childcare like that.
Gotcha.
So he didn't have to go to daycare at 2. You know,
Right.
I didn't want him to do that.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
then I met him like my first week.
She was there.
did not want another relationship.
You were shadowing another waitress?
I was training that day.
Training, yeah.
No way. Is this in Ohio?
No,
Laugh Factory, Hollywood.
right
Oh,
here.
Laugh Factory. Okay.
Yeah.
Why were you here? I know you grew up in Ohio.
I just loved LA. We had I lived in New York for 9 years after Ohio, and I went to grad school in New York. And we would come out here to visit, and we had friends who lived out here. And I just stopped wanting to go back to New York. I just loved it out here. And then after 9/11 in New York, 2 years after, I was like, I want to leave. I don't want to live here anymore. Not because of 9/11, just because I wanted to have a bigger apartment and not like, I was in my 30s and I was like, we want to have a kid. And so I wanted a bigger space. So we came out here and I loved it. I'm never leaving.
I know. I feel like we're never leaving. Everybody's like, when are you moving to Austin? I don't want to live in Austin. I love LA.
She saw the plane hit the building
You did?
in 9/11.
Oh my God.
She was in one of the buildings.
I worked at Goldman Sachs down
Golden
there.
Sachs.
You did?
Goldman Sachs. And so
Like
we...
Golden.
No.
Golden Sachs.
Well, maybe that does apply to Goldman Sachs.
they
Probably
all
has
got
some Goldman Sachs,
over
right?
there, yeah. But no, we had my window looked out onto the Hudson, and the first plane, well, the towers were completely obscured. The first tower was completely obscured by the second one, just because the way our building was facing them. So we only saw the back of Tower 2. So the first tower got hit, and all we saw was glass and paper floating. And we didn't know what it was, but because we had always had like, there's a helipad down there where like the president lands and stuff down in the financial district, and lots of other people land there. But we just always felt like there are small planes and helicopters always flying by, that it was bound to happen. So that's what everybody thought. Went out onto the trading floor and they're all watching, but there's no real footage happening yet because it just happened. So, and there were no cell phones back then. So there's no like capturing of this video right away. So we just kept working. And then 10 minutes later, there's a huge plane doing a U-turn right in front of us. And that was right outside my work window. And then we watched it go into the second tower. And I grabbed my shit and I left. Because it was actually my last day, because I was starting at a new company the following week. So I had my stuff in a box. And I grabbed everything and we ran.
What floor were you on?
49.
Wow.
And that second tower, it's 100 floors. So we were like right at the midpoint. But that plane went in like a hot knife through butter. It was so quiet right before it exploded right there.
Was it loud?
I didn't hear it. I feel like I felt it. And then when the towers fell, I took friends, coworkers with me to my apartment because I lived within walking distance from that area. But it was so stupid because I felt like sitting ducks once we were in my apartment. I was like, we're closer. We're like 4 blocks down, because I lived on the Fulton Street Promenade, which was kind of like where everybody walks during lunch and stuff. right down the street from the World Trade Center. So we're like, I don't know if this was a bad move, but all my friends lived in Queens and Brooklyn. So the subways had shut down and, you couldn't call anybody. So I said, just park it here, for a while and see what happens. And the only helpful news, because nobody really lived down in that area at that time. This was 2001. But all the news was just not very helpful about what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Howard Stern was the most helpful. So we turned the video, we just had the TV on and then just turned the audio off and used the Howard Stern show because he was staying put. They were all there because they couldn't travel outside the city and go home. So they all stayed in the studio and just kept talking.
Wow.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they kept talking for hours. And it was just the most helpful local information there was happening right then.
That's amazing.
It was crazy.
I can't imagine. I can't.
Crazy.
I don't even like to think about it. I was here.
Yeah.
But I lived in New York for 4 years, and I worked in the financial district.
Yeah.
So I knew not everything, but I knew about all
The structure
that whole
of it.
area.
It's so
and
close.
it was crazy. Where were you when that happened?
I was living in a studio, half the size of this. Yeah, and it was a tiny kitchen, and I had 3 comics who spent the night on the floor.
Oh my God!
And one of them woke up, and I checked my messages, and I go, "Hey, we're being attacked." And I look in the news, and we're all waking up, and because we had a show the night before, and we were like smoking weed all night. And we just woke up with pizza, and we just couldn't believe it. And then life changed. We had a bunch of shows. Cause we were on a tour, because I was on a show called the Que Locos tour.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of there was a show called Que Locos, and it was on Galavision, which is a different television station from Telemundo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like their Televisa, actually, their competitor.
Yep.
So this station only shows reruns of soap operas, local shows, and news, and soccer is their biggest thing. Soccer and soap operas. So there was a show on Local Access New York, and they offered him a show on that network on Sundays at 10 p.m. And they took a gamble because I was the only English show they ever had.
Yeah, it was English-speaking stand-up on a Spanish network.
network.
Yeah.
To this day, only show.
Wow.
Popular show on the West Coast, like in East Coast. Popular. So there was a tour at the same time. Like that show would end with new comics. Like, oh, this week we have these comics. But the ad would play on the show. Coming to San Antonio, the Que Locos tour. And I was part of the tour.
Yeah.
Was Gabriel Iglesias and Willie Barcena, Mike Robles, and some of these other comics. And I remember that No More Flights.
Yeah.
And they started that's when they started the TSA, the metal detector and all that stuff.
Yeah. Couldn't go to the gate.
Yeah, I couldn't go to the gate. That's so weird watching all
That was
movies.
weird. You couldn't go to the gate. We didn't know. It was hard. I didn't realize that. You could have waved to people before.
Yeah. I know. I remember watching my mom board a flight, and being like,
Right
bye,
there,
Mom.
waving
He's like
as
7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
I know, like when I watch movies, like people who they're all so outdated now. Like when you watch the movie when a guy's chasing a girl down the airport to prove her love.
Yeah. Can't do that anymore.
Can't do that anymore, but you get tackled.
I got subpoenaed at a gate once.
Really?
I did.
Oh, wow.
I was flying back to New York, and this guy walked up to me and said, is your name, my full legal name? And I went, yeah. And he's like, you've been served. And I went, what?
No.
Yeah, I got subpoenaed at the Atlanta airport.
So they had found that you had a ticket. You had a flight book.
Yeah,
Wow.
they found out I booked flight, and they
That's crazy.
served me. It was
It's
not
been serious.
We can't do that anymore.
They took you out.
Yeah. I know
go
you think
pay.
everybody thinks Bert's a criminal in this, but no. I was subpoenaed as a witness.
Damn.
Which was
When
crazy.
you subpoena the witness, you don't understand what's going on because you feel like you did the crime.
100%.
Guess what happened to me?
Yeah. You have
Uh,
no idea.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
I was subpoenaed for a crime, but I didn't know because you forget,
Yes, I
So-
do. I'd been arrested. I got arrested for vandalism. I got arrested for drunk driving. And I always had really bad behavior. I straightened my shit out at about 23. I got straightened
But the
out.
stuff you thought you got away with, you
Yes.
think they got you now.
Yes. And then I thought I got subpoenaed and I was like,
And your mind is rambling like,
Yes.
what is it?
Yes.
So many things.
yes.
Beer run here.
Yeah, right?
They got camera.
That one time I broke into that house to steal that thing from that guy. Yeah, exactly.
So the cops came to, I was living with my baby mom at the time.
Mhm.
And before I met Lisa.
Yeah.
And the cops
That's your
came
baby
to the door, and she said, "Hey Felipe, the cops are here to talk to you." I looked at her and say, "Why in the fuck did you tell them I'm here, you dumbass?" They don't know that. They can't come in.
And that's when you broke up with her, right?
So
that was the end.
I went out the other side and I fucking ran out of the
You
house.
did.
I went to the other side of the door and I ran out.
But you thought that they were there to like pick you up for a
For
crime?
something I thought I did in
not,
the past.
Not for a subpoena.
I don't know if it's the penis. So I just ran, man.
It's really scary.
So
Really,
I was
it's
scared.
so
I don't know. My
scary.
heart was racing.
Me too. My heart was racing.
I don't know
thought,
what I did.
Me neither. It was really scary. And I literally like was walking onto the plane and I thought, and I was subpoenaed for the next week, but I lived in New York. So I was like, how the hell am I going to get back to Georgia? I can't
Yeah.
afford the flight. I can't not come. If I don't come back, I can't
So
ever
they
come back to
tracked
Georgia.
you down in New
They'll
York?
track you down.
No, they tracked me down.
Here.
I had flown to Georgia from New York to just hang out with my dad for the weekend. And I was flying back to New York where I was living.
Yeah.
And they caught me in the Atlanta airport.
I said, come back.
They served me.
yeah.
It is scary.
The private investigator was hired by the court because because it's a county lawyer probably, and so they have the money to hire that investigator. And if you don't have the money, like for your case, you got to hire your own investigator. But the thing that happened, well, the next day they came back. They came back.
The process server?
No, the same cops.
Oh,
You
the
get me?
cops. Oh.
So I tried to go to the other side, and they were waiting for me this time. And they handcuffed me.
So you had like the sheriff serve
Yeah,
you.
there was
Wait, they
They
handcuffed you?
for,
in the
for
house
running?
because I was going to run again.
Because you were a flight risk?
So they handcuffed me in the front, but
You
not
could've
like
just solved all
not,
this.
not from the back, but from the front because I'm innocent. Because if you're
Is
from
that
the
the
back,
indicator?
you're going to jail. So I'm
You're
innocent.
definitely a bad guy.
So they took me in, and
But what was it for? What
it
were
was
you?
somebody was murdered outside my
He was
my
a
house.
witness.
Yeah.
Oh, and
somebody
you
was-
saw someone get murdered?
No, I came out like an idiot to go see. Because I'm nosy like that.
I think that's
I went out
called
there with
human
two
nature.
different shoes.
Oh my God. You had two different shoes on?
Yeah. And I just, because I was watching I still remember it. I was watching Saturday Night Live. Then I heard like the loudest shots I ever heard in my life. And I ran out to go see, and there was a dead kid right there,
Oh,
in a hole in his
man.
head. And he was blasted, man, like dead.
Oh.
But I just looked for I knew, okay, look. But then I took off, I ran, right? I went back to my room and pretended I did nothing. And then somebody there must have said, oh, I think I got a list over there. Felipe Esparza, I think they call him Batman. He saw the whole thing, and he was there.
You're a pretty recognizable
He was there.
person.
Give him your
They said he
whole-
was there. And then man, and then so, and then they ended up saying stuff like the cop ended up telling me that, well, they say that the guy that was shot was revenge for the gang that's around here, and they were witness to a murder from another guy,
Oh
and
my God.
the guy sought revenge. Then I'm thinking to myself, was I involved in another murder too somehow?
Did that happen and I don't remember? Oh, I thought you were going to say, did the guy who sought revenge for the guy who sought revenge is going to seek revenge on me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking right now, man. Because I remember my dad telling me, don't get involved. Don't be a witness. Shut the fuck up. Don't
Yeah.
get involved.
Yeah.
Don't put our family in jeopardy. 'Cause was your family, those family, if the cops go to your house, that's it, you guys are ruined.
Yeah.
Was that your family?
No.
Did your dad think that way? If the cops, a cop beat on your porch, it's just an embarrassment for the whole family.
Well, yeah, he definitely, the time I got arrested, he definitely was not good with it at all. It was like, don't call me. I'm not helping you. So I didn't. I called somebody else.
Those cops got so mad that I'm not a verifiable witness for that crime
Why are you not verifiable?
because I didn't see anything. I
Oh.
just heard the shots that went
I
outside.
see. You didn't see the actual crime
No.
committed, so you're not a witness, right?
No, but they were so mad they didn't have nothing. Because I told them exactly what I was watching at 11:30. I told them the host of Saturday Night Live, and I told them what time I get left.
told this bad
what time was the sketch? It was before the musical act for sure. I would have told you the band name. And he got so mad that I had nothing that he dropped me out in front of my friend like I was a rat.
Really?
Yeah. Thanks for everything, Felipe. Batman.
Thanks for everything you told us.
Yeah, what happened, Batman? You over there snitching? Nah, man. I told him to drop me out in front of you guys, bro, because I don't want to walk from way over there.
Oh my God.
Lisa was a witness. Remember for those guys?
The guys who robbed the thing. Yeah, I was.
Your mom told you not to get involved.
No, my mom didn't tell me not to get involved.
So you witnessed a
I don't
robbery?
even know if I told my mom about that. I lived in a 4-unit house when I was in college. And it was like a railroad apartment. So the front, it just went straight back to the back and it had a front entrance and a back exit. But the guys underneath me, they weren't home that week. And I think it was like Thanksgiving weekend. And they were away. And I heard glass break and I looked out and I saw 2 guys going into their house, into their apartment. And they went out the back and I looked out my back kitchen window and I saw both of them. They had stereo equipment. This is back when people stole stereo equipment. I don't even think people do that anymore.
Do
right?
people own stereo equipment?
I know.
don't
Or like TVs are all cheap these days. Like
Yeah.
even, or they're giant. You're going to carry that giant thing.
Federated.
But they had so they had stereo equipment. And so I called 911 and I was like, I think they broke into my neighbor's apartment downstairs. And so they made me, this is the thing though, when you're a witness, like an eyewitness like that, they act like you're going to be protected or safe, right? But then you're not at all. They took me into the back alley to basically identify the guys and say that's them. And I was like,
face to face?
I was like, I don't want to see them, right? Because they know where I live.
Duh.
Right? Because I have to tell my story. And they were like, oh, no, don't worry. It'll be far enough away. I'm right next to the cop car as the guy's in the car. And I was like, yeah, that's the guy. Like he had this checkered shirt on and all that. Like I described him on the phone. And I was like, yeah, that's the guy. But he was like, well, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to turn my head away. Like I'm not ratting on these people. Because those guys, I think, lived in the neighborhood. I had seen them before. And then also when I had to come to court to testify, those guys, I was like, I asked the lawyer for the city or whatever that I said, do I have to say where I live? Because I don't want to say that because I'm right above those guys and I don't want them coming back or beating me up or following me home from school or work. And he was like, oh yeah, you don't have to say where you live. The moment I got there, they asked me where I lived.
Oh my God.
And like what my vantage point was or whatever. And I looked at the lawyer. I was like, what? I have to. And the judge was like, you have to answer, miss. And I was so terrified, even though these guys are petty criminals, they were like hillbilly guys, whatever, in the neighborhood. But I didn't know what they could do to me. And I was 20, 21, something like that.
That's
when I
scary.
was top 6, the last comic standing.
Oh, well, when he was, you mean when the people came and took the bike? Yeah, when he was in the last, I don't remember telling crime stories, but
2010, man, when I was the last comic standing, somebody tried to take I had a beach
bike.
cruiser that I used on the show because I didn't have a car. So I was taking myself on a bicycle everywhere.
And it was on our porch because it had a flat tire. So it was upside down. You could see the tires from the street. And we lived on the 2nd floor. And there's kind of a big balcony right there that people could walk into if they wanted to. It had a little gate. And they saw the bike from down below. They came up the stairs, grabbed the bike and took it. And it was like 3 a.m. We had come home from a show. And so we were up still. And they, I said, somebody's taking the bike. And Felipe is like, he goes out and he yells through the window at them. Then he runs to the balcony and like he's talking shit to them.
I said, I hope your mother likes my bike, eh?
He's talking stuff. And the guy goes, "What'd you say about my mother?"
I said, I hope your mom likes the bike.
And then
Hope she's
he
proud of
pulled a
you.
gun out and shot at our balcony.
What?
And I swear, the next day I went out and looked at it, and there was something gray colored smashed into probably a foot below where you were standing, between the balcony and the next apartment below.
I ran into the house like the cartoons when they get under the blankets.
I don't blame you. That's super scary.
Yeah, and
Over
I
a
didn't
bike too.
I didn't expect that, but that was the first time I had ever seen a muzzle flash on the gun, because it was at night.
Yep.
And I had never seen that in my life, and I was like, "Fuck!" I was so scared. And when I called, but the cops,
Yeah, the cops acted
horrible.
like we were the one who shot the gun.
So I'm talking to 911. They're like, "Oh, the officers are outside." So I was like, "Okay, do I need to go out and meet them?" And no, they'll come to you. Okay. So we're waiting. And I look out the window, and the guy goes, "Get down here."
What?
Like, he's telling me to get down there. So we're in our pajamas. We go down. Then they want to see our IDs.
Oh my God. Do you have to go back up and
just
get
saw
them,
me
right?
in the house.
It's 3 o'clock in the
so we
morning.
go up and get I know. And we're in my pajamas. We're in our pajamas. And the guy was like, they wanted to know what happened. And then I told him I saw the muzzle flash, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, they went that way, down that street. Like, if you will hurry, they're over there with a bike that has a flat tire. So they're not riding it.
They're not going fast.
Yeah, so they're over that way. They went toward Bonnie Bray.
You got any leads?
I know it's just a bike, but these guys had a gun. That's the bigger concern.
Yeah, right. Totally.
The bike's worth nothing. But so anyway, they got the description of the bike wrong as they're calling it in. Then they wanted like our information, and it was just ridiculous.
That's crazy.
And then the cop, when she came to talk, I wasn't home. I was at work at the time. I used to work for a law firm. And the cop came and visited you because you were home.
Yeah.
And she looked at it from the ground, which is probably 20 feet away from it. And she goes, "No, it doesn't look like a bullet."
What?
And that was the
It's got to be dark, right?
No, this was in the next day.
The next day.
Or 2 days later.
Okay.
That was the extent of the investigation, though. It doesn't look like a bullet.
Isn't that crazy?
And I was like, but there wasn't a projectile in there. There wasn't anything in there yesterday or the day before. So what is it? It's something that was fired from a gun.
Yeah,
and
right?
like, and this is the Rampart Police Department, too, over by Echo Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've been notorious for dirty deeds over the years, and that's where both the sheriff and the undersheriff were sent to prison from that division. But that guy, I think that woman was basically not reporting it as a violent crime. That way, your violent crime numbers don't get reported accurately.
Gotcha.
You know, so it's just a bike stolen. You know what I mean?
That would make sense.
Which is really horrible.
It's really horrible.
That shouldn't be the way things
mom
are.
liked the bike too.
I bet she did. Once she got a new tire.
But I was nervous though, because they saw us pretty clearly, I think. And they weren't your average. These weren't like cholo guys. And we're trying to describe, these aren't cholo guys. They look more like rocker kids, you know, like punk or rocker style kids. They were not your average.
They didn't look like gang.
They didn't look like gang members. They didn't look
like
what cops are going to be thinking as they're looking for these guys.
They had a gun.
But they had a gun, and they're
clearly
stupid, and they're young.
Okay, let me go back to you were shadowing.
Oh yeah, I was
waitressing
training at Laugh Factory. Yeah.
How did this happen? Like, how did you two happen? I'm so curious because everybody looks at me and Bert and go, how did you happen? Like Christine, who you met, has known Bert and me independently. She knew each of us before we knew each other.
Oh, really?
And I was asking her the other day, because Bert and I have been together 23 years. And I was like, did you ever say like, oh yeah, Bert, we should hook Bert up with LeeAnn? She was like, not ever, not in 1 million. I would never,
funny.
No one that knew either one of you would have been like, oh yeah. So I wonder, it makes me curious about you guys, because I bet on paper people would not go, oh yeah, those two. So what happened?
Well, I was, like I said, I was not looking for a relationship when I met him, but I saw him on stage. He definitely was not. He had like 3 girlfriends or something.
I was there on a date probably, but I don't remember.
Maybe the first time. I did not talk to you the first night I met you or saw you, but I was like, that guy kind of looks, I was like, that guy's kind of, well, I didn't say he was kind of cute. I thought it in my head, but I thought that he looked like a young Paul Rodriguez, who I did have a crush on when I was younger, back when he had his TV show back in the 80s.
Consequently.
So I thought, and I looked on the lineup backstage, and I was like, no, I don't see Rodriguez. I knew Paul's son was famous, but I didn't know he was famous as a skateboarder. I thought he was a comedian as well. So stupid. But I was like, oh, I don't know who that is. And then I kept asking, who's that guy with the long hair? Who's that guy with the long hair? And they told me, and I was like, oh. So I just kind of kept my eye on him. And then I don't even know if I went up to you.
You emailed me and said you want to hit smoke a joint or something.
Oh, yeah. I think I hit him up for weed or to smoke with me or something next time we hung out. Yeah. Or next time he was at the Laugh Factory.
All right.
And then it just turned into that. I think you were my first text message ever. This was 2006. And I never texted. And texting had just started pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Like, other than if you had a BlackBerry, I never had a BlackBerry because I didn't want people
Palm
reaching
Pilot.
me all the time.
Remember
Palm
those?
Pilots, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was my first. My phone was blinking. I was like, "What is this red light on my phone?" And it was a text.
It was a
and
text.
It was him.
We ended up meeting at the Laugh Factory. It was Latino night,
Mm-hmm.
and then did we drive together or we drove together?
I think you drove in my car
to
a place way out in
Hacienda
Montebello.
Heights, California. It's fucking far.
Oh yeah, Hacienda Heights, Sunset.
It's the Sunset Room.
Yeah,
and I had
It's a cool little lounge, but so far.
Fergie on the Black Eyed Peas. Her parents, that's their dive bar.
Yeah. They were regulars.
Okay.
They're regulars there. They're like regulars, like barflies.
That's
So
funny.
so I was doing a show there with George Perez.
Mm-hmm.
He was running a room.
Yep.
And we started making out right away.
You
Right
did?
away.
Like in the car, like before you even
we
left
got out of
LA?
the car.
When you got out of the car.
Yeah.
Because
Food in
the
my mouth
ride
and
was like,
everything.
on the ride where you're
You
like,
had
all
food
right.
in your mouth.
No,
You had food in your mouth?
I didn't notice that.
I didn't. But the funny thing that we did the show, and what was your mindset when you saw that room or how far it was?
I don't know.
But it was far. I was like, damn, I got enough gas. I'm a single mom.
Yeah, it was far. It was far. I didn't expect to be going that far or staying out because I do not like to stay out late.
No.
I'm really not. I mean, I will do it, but I'm a morning person, and so
I'm a day person.
I'm a day person. But I was I was driving far, and I was like, just when am I going to get back home? But yeah, my son was with my ex at the time, but yeah, so I was not looking for a relationship, and
But you found
I
one.
fell in love really fast too.
It was really fast.
Man. I didn't.
I felt like I was in high school.
I knew I fell in love too because I had told George Perez that he could spend the night at my house, and I totally forgot I told him, man. And I remember when she left, and I looked. He goes, "Man, is that a bum in that car?" And it was George Perez sleeping in his car.
Oh my God.
He's trying to tell you that we hooked up on the first night we met. The first day we
No,
not
just
met.
saying more details.
I know, but
The first-
we
on
hooked
that
up
day,
on
yeah.
our first date.
Your first
basically,
date.
which wasn't a real date.
I was
Wait.
a virgin.
I bet you were. With 2 kids, you totally were.
Also, she liked me right away because she opened the refrigerator. She saw soy milk.
Yeah, he had soy milk, which I thought that was kismet because I was raised vegan, and so I was well acquainted with
They have
soy
books
milk.
laying everywhere.
Wait a minute. You were raised vegan in Ohio?
Yeah.
How about that?
My mom was Seventh-day Adventist, so they're
Okay.
vegetarian,
Mhm.
and then she went vegan all the way. But
When you were little?
when I was little, and we
Uh-huh.
were broke too, but she didn't know how to cook. Like we could have saved so much money. Instead, she bought a lot of processed vegan food, But there were 2 companies, Loma Linda, which was a Seventh-day Adventist company, and Worthington Foods, which is Ohio
Loma Linda
based.
Franks.
And they made most of the vegan food that was out there, like fake meats and stuff.
Right.
But we could have saved so much money if my mom had known how to cook like rice and beans and, more ethnic foods
Yeah.
that don't require a lot of processed ingredients and stuff.
Right.
And so she could have been a healthier vegan, but
Are you still vegan?
we are now. I wasn't when I met him. And then I was like, oh, but I did drink soy milk. But I was like, oh, he has soy milk in his fridge. And I thought that was weird.
But you were only
For a
eating
guy like
chicken
him.
and fish.
I was eating chicken and fish. That's what I was saying. I wasn't vegan at the time. But then later, he was having like digestive issues later, like 2011, right? And then he said, I'm off meat, no more meat or dairy. I don't want to do any of that. I need to get, my stomach right or whatever. So I was like, okay, I can do that.
Right.
I
You know how to do that
way, yeah.
from birth, right?
Yeah.
So what was it on that first date that made you like, what was it besides soy milk? What was it? What do you think makes you work? Like, I know what makes me and Bert work. What makes you work?
At that time, I think it was just attraction to each other. I don't know. He was funny. I like funny. That's number one.
Do you think she's funny?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. No, he does not.
Do you think?
And I'm usually not.
Do you think she's if you don't think she's funny, what do you think she is?
Well, she's funny, but not like me funny.
Well, of course not. You are a different level of human being entirely.
Yeah.
And I mean that as the biggest, greatest compliment. Without people like you and Bert and really unique thinkers, we would just think the same shit all the time.
I think you were
so boring.
suspicious of me, though. You were suspicious of me, of maybe of my intentions or something, because I think you thought I was a groupie or something. But I did love comedy because I would talk about comedy and you'd be like, because I talked a lot about comedy because when I lived in New York, well, first of all, since I was a teenager, I loved stand-up comedy. And I knew all those old comics from the 80s, 70s, 80s. And then in New York, I used to go to regular underground comedy shows. And, when I came out, he didn't really care about talking about comedy. He didn't like talking about it or analyzing it or breaking it down. And he still doesn't. But I would mention it and he'd be like, why are you always talking about comedy? And I
know, man. Sometimes I would go to comedians' houses and they had nothing but posters of comedians, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Because he doesn't watch specials.
Want to be a comedian or want to be a fan?
Yeah,
right.
He doesn't watch other people's specials really. Like,
I used to say that. Like people ask me, did you watch people's specials? No, I don't. I don't want people's specials. I don't need to learn nothing from them. I just want to know how they market themselves. I want to know the first 10 minutes. But then my algorithm showed up for Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Spotify.
And the first one was a comedian. It was Todd Berry.
Oh, yeah.
Top listens all year. Todd Berry. Number 2, Doja Cat.
Doja Cat.
Yeah, he loves Todd Berry. And I told you I saw Todd years ago, and you're like, I don't care about that guy.
When you said Todd Berry, I thought you were talking about another guy.
You thought I was talking about Dave Berry.
Dave Berry.
Different Berry.
A humorist, not a
humorist.
comic.
I forgot where I will read his stuff, but I will always read it.
Probably the comics, right?
That's what I thought that no.
So this last special is beautiful. Man, it's beautifully shot. I mean, it's just, besides...
Lisa did all the legwork.
You directed it, didn't you?
I directed it, yeah, and produced it, yeah.
Well, you did an amazing job.
And picked all the guys, even the light guy.
The lighting guy is Sam Barker. He is an Emmy award-winning lighting guy. And that curtain in the back, I don't know if you noticed, but that curtain really popped. It was not that color. That's all light.
No?
It's all light,
No, it's
right?
like a mustard color. It was drab, and I was like, it's like a dull version of that. No.
It's amazing what you do with light.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
When I walked in, because I was like, oh, that curtain's like underwhelming, and I was hoping that it could raise, and there were a lot of challenges with that.
Yeah.
And then when I walked in and they had the lights set up, I was like, this is it. It just is shimmering and gold and reddish. It's so beautiful.
That's great.
I was really amazed by those guys.
I watched 30 minutes and had to take a break.
Oh, cool.
I laughed so much. And I kept going. He's telling a joke almost every half minute.
Yeah.
There's so much content that I stopped at 30 minutes to process what I had just heard. I'm not even joking. You had so many really good jokes. It just there was no air in it. I love that
nice.
about stand-up. That's what you want, is that you've taken all the air out of something. And then you have to watch it again. Because I feel like I need to watch it again because I am sure I missed 25% at least of what you said. You have to be so proud of this special.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the special. It took me I worked on it for 3 years.
3 years.
Well, during the pandemic, of course, but a whole year actually getting used to that 1 hour.
Well,
without changing the thing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
When does it come out?
Thank you. February 11th.
It's
coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple weeks.
One of the jokes, I know there's a joke there about going to, I won't say the punchline, but going to a gender revealing party. I saw, I was doing the show that, for the one that, I don't know if it was, Stone, was his name?
Skylar.
I don't know if it was Skylar Stone, but we were doing a show and Bert was there. And I had to follow Natasha Leggero and then Anthony Jeselnik. So I had a joke I was working about abortion and gender revealing. So then I was like, how am I going to deliver this joke? How am I going to write it better?
It's so funny.
Then I saw him perform like the darkest comedy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. Confidence.
Confidence. That's what you
Yeah,
need.
don't ask. Have you ever been to a gender revealing party? Just say it. So then I just said it, and then I never done a joke where I didn't have to work it out 10 billion times to know it's funny. It was funny the first time I said it.
It's very funny.
I was like, what the?
That's one of the times in your special I laughed super hard out loud. Where I went and did one of these, where it catches you off guard.
Yeah.
You go, bah! You don't even realize you're laughing. It's so good.
But Lisa been helping me since 2010 when I was on Last Comic Standing. And we had to go back home every night and come up with 3 minutes. And she's always good at like, oh, you got to say this, you got to say that.
Well, we
it
just
down.
basically mined his material for the best 3 minutes each week. And then we had to submit it. That's tough because you asked what makes us work. What makes us work now is different than what made us work or click in the beginning.
Yeah, tell me.
That was more like, physical attraction and just having fun together and stuff. But then it became more of a work relationship too. So that's when I was like, okay, what can I use to help him now? Because I was working in IT at the time. I was an IT administrator at a law firm.
Oh my gosh.
So I was doing computer stuff. But half of the day was spent, all of a sudden he was getting more popular. So half of the day was spent helping him on his stuff. And when he was on Last Comic Standing, it was a regular job because we would pick parts of his material that he should submit. We had to submit it on paper, which is tough for him because even though he does have some regular jokes, he'll write a set list and not do one of those jokes that night. You know what I mean? He'll change it he'll change what he wants to do once he gets up on stage and feels out the crowd, which is fine. That's a smart thing for a comedian to do and be able to do is adapt to that. But I would get thrown because you didn't practice the 3 minutes which we said we were going to do, So that was him having to really hone his craft in more of a professional way instead of just going up there and having fun. So my part was picking out, these jokes go well together. And these are some of our strongest jokes. So we just picked the 3 minutes each week that was the strongest and submitted them and he had
fast
to work
too.
them out.
You don't have to
A lot of jokes in a short
have
amount
to be
of time.
fast because applause breaks and then you might not have time to finish the next joke.
Yeah.
And they had lawyers that would edit our jokes or take words out.
Yeah, or brand names.
Or brand
and things
names.
like that. Yeah.
So that piece that you discovered in Last Comic Standing is still part of what you do today, right?
So then in 2014, when we got married, it had been 4 years since he won. And even though he had been a comic for, 16 years, I guess, before Last Comic Standing.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
Crazy.
It was
crazy.
It was a struggle. He didn't have a special out. He had not really toured on his own. He had toured with Gabriel Iglesias for a while. He toured as part of the Que Locos tour, which was a bunch of comics.
And for Paul Rodriguez and Russell Peters.
Yeah, he was opening for some people here and there, but he had never been his own headliner across the country. And so that was new for him and it was overwhelming. And so I was spending so much more time working on his stuff, getting him a website, getting him incorporated, booking travel, doing his finances, doing everything, making his merch, putting his website together, all that stuff we did 14 years ago and 15 years ago now. And it was crazy. So we got married that year in 2014. And I was like, I think I have to quit my job, not to sit at home and, be a housewife, but I needed to quit my job because I couldn't do both.
Yeah.
And so once we did that, I became an officer in the corporation and then became official. And then that's pretty much all I did was I was his manager for all intents and purposes. So
And then we started pitching shows together.
yeah, and we started doing that a little bit later. And we pitched probably 2 seasons for an idea with including not me as an actor, but my character as his wife.
Right.
And based on our relationship together and our family, kind of our blended family. We did that twice and it got very close. Didn't ever go to series. And then we pitched another couple times with other ideas with him and another partner, like actor partner. Those didn't take off either, but we keep trying.
So we did our own podcast.
And we had a podcast together too.
And what's up,
Enchilada
fools?
casserole.
Enchilada casserole?
Yeah, that was our...
Okay, first of all, the only Mexican food I ever had growing up was an enchilada casserole, which is not Mexican. No. But it's still delicious.
It's delicious. It's an enchiladanya.
But the name was like a combination of our 2 backgrounds.
Yeah.
Basically,
That's
this
perfect.
white girl from Ohio.
You made an enchilada casserole.
Everything's a casserole
One of the
in Ohio.
specials, I joked that goes my wife was cooking tortillas on a fire holding with pliers. He goes, "This is how your mom does it?" I say, "Hell no, my mom does it with her hand.
You said she puts her hand on the fire.
She puts her hand on the fire while breastfeeding, separating clothes with her feet."
Yeah.
Getting yelled at by my dad on the phone, asking where my sister is.
I loved in this special where you talk about going back to Ohio and what the parties are like and compared to what parties are like at your house. I thought the whole time I was going, I'm half Ohio and I might be half not Ohio. It was the first time I brought Bert home. Bert's like, grew up in country clubs. I grew up super rural Georgia. And I remember driving going,
Country clubs.
And country clubs. I was driving him to meet my grandpa who wore overalls every day. And I said, now some words going to come out of his mouth that are not appropriate.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to tell you, but welcome to the family. Let's hope this goes well.
That's funny.
And it was, I think, a culture he had never been exposed to in that way.
Even though he's from Florida or he lived in Florida, he didn't really know that side of it. He didn't know the Gainesville side of Florida, right?
No, not quite Gainesville. But even though it obviously is not the same as your culture and your culture, I related
similar
to like 2 people from 2 very different backgrounds. And then how different you are with each other. And it's so cool to hear you talk like that as a white person. I love listening to other cultures and how and it makes me feel like white people are so boring.
Yeah.
So boring. We're so boring because we're always nice to each other. No one ever fights. I mean, it doesn't really apply in my deep south. We have some cousins that like chase each other through town, shooting at each other like when in high school because they were mad. Somebody hit somebody's cow with a truck and now everybody's mad. Choose a side. But yeah, it was really cool to hear that in your special. I loved it.
Yeah, we went to
my brother loves this guy.
Yeah, we went to their house for 4th of July. Yeah. And like the brother, because she grew up.
Is this the first time you met them?
Everybody, everybody.
It was a family reunion, our second family reunion.
But it was at while her mom, we had the first family reunion at her grandma. No, your aunt, right?
My aunt.
Yeah, your brother's sister.
Oh, you mean Dottie?
Dottie.
Yeah, my aunt Dottie.
Yeah, she had an aunt named Dottie who had her own business, and she had a big ass fucking house.
My aunt Dottie and my dad are from a family of 9 kids. And
her grandma was sold for a shotgun.
My grandmother was sold for a shotgun at 15. Then she ended up running off with the guy whose family owned the farm, and they became a couple.
Okay,
that's my grandfather. And then, or they worked the farm. I don't think my family's ever owned anything. But anyway, so that's where my history ended, was with my grandmother being sold. Because she was basically, I think her mother died and her dad couldn't take care of her, which was common everywhere in the United States back then when a single dad would give up the kids because he had to go work and everything. So
there was a song about it called Fancy.
Yeah,
remember
Fancy.
that Reba song?
Chance you want, chance, fancy, don't let me down.
Yeah, that's it. That's your grandma. She's fancy.
So she, so anyway, my dad was, he was an illegitimate half sibling of all these kids because my grandmother, when she became 30, I guess, ran off with another dude.
Ruh-roh.
And had a baby with him. And then she was going to stay with that guy until my grandfather threatened her and said, if you don't bring him back and come back and join the family, I'm going to put all the kids up for adoption.
Oh, God.
And they're all going to get separated.
Oh,
and
Lord.
so she came back. And then
so she loved her kids.
Yeah, but my family, my dad and his siblings all grew up in like a dirt floor home with a stove, a wood burning stove in the middle of the room, and that's it. And so when she got older, she married young and everything, and then she started like a business. She started a business called, well, I'll just say the business. It's called One. It's a big company down in Florida. They do business to business. Like they started out with headsets for call centers.
Mm-hmm.
And just selling headsets. And then it became a whole communications company.
Oh, wow.
And
this was your aunt?
My aunt, my dad's sister. And she raised that whole family up to upper middle class by inviting them all down to Florida, come down and work for me. You can do HR, you can do customer service, you could do this and blah, blah, blah. And a lot, they were all able to retire and like
That's
have
amazing.
Homes and like.
Even her dad too.
Yeah. And my dad, who's got that's a whole year-long podcast to talk about my dad, but he came back to the family and she let him do like tech support from home and stuff. And he's self-taught with all his computer knowledge. And so he was able to do that on the phone with them and make a living and get back on his feet. And so this side of the family, I never saw when growing up because my mom hated my dad's side of the family so much, she never let him see his family either and never let us be there either. So I never met them. We all came back together when my dad died in 2017. And then all of a sudden we were getting invited to their family reunions. And I learned that they're not monsters and they go on vacation together and they like each other. And it's the side of the family like I could have really benefited from growing up, but it was so sad. But at the same time, my brother now has this huge extended family and he's so excited about it.
That's awesome. Yeah. 17 is not that long ago.
No, it's not that long ago.
Yeah, that's not. So that's
we've
the
had
first
two since then.
Family you met? Mm-hmm. Is that the first time you met her family? Was at this
He
July
has never
4th?
met my mom.
Never.
No?
No.
But I met everybody else at a show. They all came to my show.
Yeah.
In,
Lisa?
Orlando Improv.
I don't know how much you know about me.
No, I don't.
But we are... Oh, we don't need to talk about it on the podcast because everybody already knows about me. Mm-hmm. But we are like almost carbon copy human beings.
Really?
Yes. I don't have a master's. I don't have a college degree. But what you described here, I haven't talked to my mom. My mom's met Bert once.
Mm.
I
probably haven't spoken to my mom for about 7 years. The last thing,
I got 23.
This is funny right here, man.
When I told her I was getting married, I was still talking to her on the phone, but I dreaded the phone call every week. Mm-hmm. I hated it. Mm-hmm. And then it became just special occasions I would call her, like holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
And I last talked to her on Mother's Day that year, and I called her to say Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to let you know I'm engaged. And she said, well, first of all, when I got divorced and told her over the phone, she said, I hope you don't have the same gene that your father had that made him want to leave his family.
Wow. I probably do. Oh, that's crazy.
It's crazy because she's the whole reason he left the family. But that's another story. But when I called her to tell her I was engaged, she was like, oh, Lisa. She said, you're not 30 anymore. And I was like, I know. And then she said, are you going to try and have kids again? And because I have one son who was planned. It was not a mistake.
In a marriage.
I was in my marriage. And she was like, are you going to try and have kids again or something? And I was like, maybe. She just was beside herself with this news, and I'm not 30. I'm not 18 telling her I'm getting married. None of these are bad things.
No.
I'm getting remarried. And that was the last conversation I had with her. It was just, I just felt like I don't want to have to call somebody who makes me feel like crap all the time.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
no. There's a lot of history with my mom. It's bad.
I
She sent
hear
you a
you.
box, huh?
Oh, she sent me a box
Oh my God.
of
man.
receipts.
Of receipts.
You know, you said
Not,
that. You
not
know,
literal receipts.
You know how you
but
argue with
the
somebody
receipts.
and then you go like this, show me the receipts?
Yeah.
She's saying a
This
box.
was a box of proof
Of every
argument.
Like you said, your dad didn't have insurance.
Wow.
Well, here's a photocopy of that insurance.
You said your dad
With a
did
little
this.
tag that says, this is a conversation we had, and it's approved.
This was like a case file that somebody might have spent 20 years building. And it showed up at my house. And each section of receipts was in a manila envelope. There were probably 12. I haven't even counted it. It's still in my office on top of a shelf. And I haven't opened anything. But he grabbed one. When I was at work one day,
man. One time
he
I was
grabbed one of the
I had to take
envelopes.
the dump of the millennium.
He was
No
going to the
trying
bathroom.
to find something to read.
Need something to read?
Yeah. So I said, I was like, walking like this. I couldn't find my phone. I already read the shampoo like in that movie. So I said, oh shit. I got a stepladder. I got that big box and I took it with me to the bathroom. And I just started opening envelopes. Oh man, this is sad.
So then when I got home, I found a piece of paper or something that had fallen out of one of them. And I
Yeah.
said, what is this?
Yeah.
Are you reading the stuff in the box? And he was like, which I didn't mind if he did, but I didn't know why it was laying on the floor.
Yeah.
And then he said,
I'll tell her
yeah, I thought it was going to be funny or something. And it was just sad and I had to put it away. I was like, it was really crazy.
This argument you guys
She's a
had
crazy
about
person.
your dad
Wait.
getting a settlement.
She's finishing arguments.
She's
Yeah.
On the cover on the front of each of the manila envelopes. I told you it's like a case file. She has a listing of the explanation of the contents of each of these envelopes.
So I didn't know none of this, but I could tell you that
It's a psycho person who did this.
the envelope I read was case file 495 1980
Seriously?
1989.
Watch out. You might get subpoenaed for it later. Be very careful.
You and your mom had an argument about your dad getting a settlement and not sharing it.
My dad years ago
So
cut
that
his
she
finger
showed
off.
me a check that was whatever.
My
What?
dad cut his finger off years ago
Are you
in
an
a
only
construction accident. No, I
Okay.
have two brothers.
That's right.
In
you
a
said, yeah.
construction accident, he had a power saw and he sliced his finger off, his pinky. And he got it reattached, but then he never wanted to exercise it. They gave him a little exerciser to help like connect and build your muscle and all that stuff. And he never did it. And it got in the way when he was trying to put his hands in his
Oh my
pockets. He had
God.
big hands and stuff. So he just went back and asked them to cut it back off.
Oh my gosh.
And so they did. And so he spent the rest of his life with 3 fingers and a thumb. But he had big hands, so you couldn't really tell.
Uh-huh.
And he'd always joke when somebody shook his hand. He'd be like, like something happened. But he's a funny guy. But she, in this letter to me, wrote, and I didn't read the letter. I read the front of that envelope he's talking about. And she was talking about how she thought when he left us that he had some sort of secret money stash somewhere from some settlement. She said, because that saw was made by Craftsman. And I bet he sued Craftsman. I'm like, this man did not have the wherewithal to go sue a company who made the saw that cut his finger off.
He didn't even wiggle it to get it
No,
working.
He's not going to do this. Like the mental gymnastics she had to do to get to this level of like conspiracy that she's alleging, it's just bizarre. I can't imagine somebody spent so much energy in their 60s
Right.
doing this.
And
70s almost. at
someone
that
was
point.
married to that energy.
Oh, yeah.
That would be tough.
There's no reason. It must have been a gene that made him want to leave.
It was
right?
probably the gene. You seem
Had
to
to
have
be.
it also, Lisa. You seem like
I must.
someone who would write on the outside of a manila envelope something that Felipe did. That's crazy.
My mom didn't even understand how I could be friends with my ex-husband and take care of our son together. Like that was bizarre to her.
Wow.
That I would still communicate with an ex. Like it just, she doesn't have concept of how to work through this world.
She got issues. I think she might have a little personality disorder, a little case of that or something. Bit. She got bit by something. I don't know. That's a little, I can totally relate. I completely relate.
Yeah.
The last correspondence I had with my mother was from an email that was pretty nasty.
Damn.
And I printed it.
Your mom knows how to email. That's pretty advanced.
Well, yeah, 23 years ago was when email was still pretty young. I printed it and handed it to Bert's sister. And I said, this is what I just got from my mom. And she just started crying.
Oh, man.
Just crying. She was like, I can't believe your mother speaks to you like this. And at the time I was pregnant. And I went, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't think my children need this person anywhere near them.
Yeah.
How was blending your family? How did that work? How old were your kids when they blended?
They didn't quite blend.
Okay.
Because they were older. His kids were older.
Yeah.
I think his youngest son.
Lived together.
No. His youngest son, but they hung out together. But his youngest son was 13 or 14 when I met him.
Yeah.
And then when he met Isaac, my son, I think he was about 14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the older kids, like they just got to know him through visits and stuff, and his older kids. But his kids are in their 30s now, and well into their 30s.
Yeah.
And mine is 20.
What's your favorite thing about Felipe?
His sense of humor.
Yeah.
Also, he's very thoughtful. Well, not all the time, but he's very thoughtful when he's out, and he'll always think of like something to bring back, even though I hate it because he's always bringing sweets back. But he'll bring something back. He feels like he has to bring something back to you. Like, oh, I thought about you today. I got you this or whatever. It's very nice.
That's sweet.
But I don't do that. And I don't know if I have a little like Asperger's or something maybe, but I don't think
that's what it's called.
I don't ever bring anything back from vacation for people. I don't bring things back from myself from vacation. Like I never like when I used to work in an office with people, because I'm pretty much in a vacuum and with my one assistant and Felipe all the time. But when I used to work in an office with people, I would never go down to the store and be like, hey, can I bring you something back? I'm just not. I don't know. It's not like I don't want to.
Yeah, it's just not your
way. It's not a thought.
Side.
It might be my mom's side sneaking in, making me toxic. But I was like, oh, it's foreign to me to ask that before I leave.
Right.
But maybe it's also like, I don't want a bunch of orders to take with me when I go downstairs. Maybe that's my deeper.
Just keep it clean. Keep it clean.
I'm getting a coffee. I don't want any heavy weight to bring back.
What's your favorite thing about Lesa?
Her big old titties.
Oh, shit. We say tig old bitties at our house. Those tig old bitties.
We say tig old bitties too.
No, when I was a kid, I had a crush on like the Bionic Woman.
Oh, yeah. Linda
me and
Carter.
my little brother, we used to fight because he used to like Wonder Woman. And he would say stuff to me like, that the Bionic Woman had freckles in her ass. That should get me so mad.
Pimples on her ass.
Pimples in her ass.
Yeah.
That should get me so mad. Then we would get into like a fist fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does she remind you of Linda Carter?
No, man. Jamie Summers.
Lindsay
Wagner.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, you mean the Bionic Woman?
Yeah.
Not Wonder Woman. Bionic Woman.
No, he liked Wonder Woman, right? And you liked
Bionic Woman. Okay. I see it now. I was like, she doesn't look like Linda Carter. No. I got confused.
Because all my crushes as a kid were like blonde lady with blue eyes.
Because you grew up in the 70s just watching.
Well, everybody on TV was blonde with blue eyes. Everybody. Oh.
But anyway, yeah.
But also, she's smart. That's an attractive now.
She's very smart.
Very smart. So I can have a conversation, and I don't have to Google stuff.
Right. Do you feel lucky you found each other?
Yeah, I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
You feel lucky? Yeah. I feel so lucky.
We're like opposite, but not really.
You complement each other.
Yeah.
We do complement each other. But you know what? It was surprising. Like, he was surprising. He's a surprising guy because when I first met him, not only did he have the soy milk, but his favorite movie was Amadeus.
Oh, my God.
Which you would not think when looking at him, right? And he liked classical music, and he liked poetry and like reading. He loved to go to the library to get books and read, and they just don't meet people who would do that, you know?
So you grew up reading as a kid?
No, but my dad was always making us read. He never read, but get a book, read it, so I will read it.
Yeah.
But Mozart, because I had a class where I didn't pay attention to the whole class. I failed it. I failed it.
You're not a classroom kind of guy, I think.
So, but my teacher came in one day and goes, guys, he like broke character, didn't teach us shit that day. Guys. First time we were guys for the first time. I just saw the best movie in the whole wide world. And then some kid in the back said, "What movie, Mr. Walters?" Amadeus. Then some kid said, "What the fuck is that?" Don't use that tone of language in my classroom. But today I'm going to tell you. He turned into, because this guy's like a blue collar guy. He taught electronics, right? He would teach ohms and watts. And for the first time, this guy like broke character. And he was like a little boy talking about Wolfgang Amadeus and how he grew up as a little kid, knowing music. So that became my favorite movie.
That's so cool.
But I think you like the Salieri relationship.
Yeah, man, a lot.
Too. Because you also like Temptations, the movie.
Also,
and you
like
love the David Ruffin.
I like the whole movie, man. Like as a little kid, and I like that he has a hater in the movie that doesn't like him, and I always see that as a comedian. You know, like it's always like the comedian that ain't gonna like you is the one that knows the most about stand-up comedy,
right?
And then he ended up being your friend after all.
Right.
Because in the end of the movie, when Salieri, even though like he's jealous of Mozart, he's jealous of Mozart.
Very, yeah.
He also loves his talent.
Yes.
He's in awe of it.
But when you realize it in the movie, they're both equally talented, like two comics. But one is just naturally fucking funny that he don't have to write shit down because everything comes to it in his head.
Yep.
And the other comic has to write everything down.
He's technically
to be funny.
trained, yeah.
He's technically trained.
Yes. One of them has a lot of effort put in to get to the same or similar place to the other.
And then Mozart's goofy, even though he's very talented, he's goofy.
He's
and
very childlike.
He's an experience with money, and
it's a great movie.
which is what I like about my special Raging Fool, because when I saw Raging Bull, when he had nothing else to do, he goes, "What else can I do in my life? My life sucks. I don't know, I'll be a comedian."
Right.
So he decided to do stand-up comedy.
Did you ever see Raging Bull?
Yeah. No.
No.
At the end of the movie, Jake LaMotta is doing stand-up comedy.
He owned a
Is he
club. Yeah,
really?
he owned a little bar and he would
and
do stand-up.
he's doing stand-up before he brings up the stripper.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen Raging Bull, but do you remember that movie that De Niro did about being a stand-up comic?
Oh,
with
yeah.
Jerry
King
Lewis?
of Comedy. It's
King
one of my
Comedy.
favorite movies
Oh my
ever.
God. Great movie. I wonder
Sandra
if
Bernhard in
doing
that.
Raging Bull somehow inspired that movie. I wonder.
Yeah, he did another movie called Mad Dog and Glory, where Bill Murray is like a comedian and an accountant for the mob, and what's the name of the cop? And he's there to investigate somebody, and Bill Murray has a line in the movie. He goes, my therapist says that I choose stand-up comedy because I want the love and praises of the world with the least amount of work.
With the least amount of work. February 11th. What's it called?
Raging Fool.
And where can you watch it?
Netflix.
On Netflix, directed by Lisa Esparza.
I love it. Well, it's so good. I mean, I really loved it. You guys did an amazing job. Both of you together did an amazing job.
I got the best. We got married on the best day to remember: 12, 13, 14.
Oh, that was on purpose so he would remember it always. 12, 13, 14. That's it.
I love it. Well, I know you got to get to your podcast, so I'm going to let you go so you can go. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me.
I'm not finished. I have 8,000 more things to ask you, so maybe you have to come back.
I will come back.
Please.
Part 2. If I'm down.
Part 2, yes.
It's only the cusp, right?
The cut. The what?
We've only just begun.
Yeah.
How
We've
about
only
that?
begun.
We've only just begun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.